humiliated by women. Here's your dream date. You are not ready.
Hello everyone, I am the PlayGamer3, and welcome to the PlayStation Revisited, a history and review of the Sony PlayStation 1 console. The first concepts of the PlayStation dates back to 1986. Nintendo has been attempting to work with disc-based technology since the Famicom. The Family Computer Disk System, sometimes called the Famicom Disk System, was released on February 21, 1986 by Nintendo as a peripheral for the Famicom console in Japan. It was a unit that used proprietary floppy disks called disk cards for data storage. It was announced but not released for the North American Nintendo Entertainment System. The Famicom Disk System had many problems. The Famicom Disk System's rewritable magnetic disc could be easily erased, leading to a lack of durability, and they lacked any sort of copy protection, making them vulnerable to piracy. Nintendo was interested in a more advanced and better disc format. In 1991, details of the CD-ROM XA were released to the public. The CD-ROM XA is an extension of the Yellow Book standard for CD-ROMs that combines compressed audio, video, and computer data, allowing all to be accessed simultaneously. It was intended as a bridge between CD-ROM and CDI Green Book, and was published by Sony and Philips. The CD-ROM XA was a more advanced disc-based system than the Famicom disk system, and it had none of the problems that plagued the Famicom disk system. Nintendo approached Sony to develop a CD-ROM add-on that would eventually be called the snes-cd. Nintendo's choice of Sony was due to her prior dealing with Ken Kugaragi, the person who would later be dubbed the father of the PlayStation. Ken Kugaragi had sold Nintendo on using Sony's SPC 700 processor for use as a 8-channel ADPCM sound chipset in the Super Famicom, aka SNES system. A contract was signed and work began on the snes-cd. Sony planned to develop a Super Nintendo compatible Sony branded console, one which would be more of a home entertainment system playing both Super Nintendo cartridges and a new CD format which Sony would design. This would give Sony a large degree of control despite Nintendo's leading position in the video game market. The product, dubbed the PlayStation, was to be announced at the May 1991 Consumer Electronics Show, CES. However, when Nintendo's president Hiroshi Yoshida read the original 1988 contract between Nintendo and Sony, he wasn't pleased. He realized that the earlier agreement handed Sony complete control over any and all titles written on the NES CD-ROM format. Yamauchi decided that the contract was unacceptable, and he secretly canceled all plans for the joint Nintendo-Sony snes-cd attachment. Instead of announcing a partnership between Sony and Nintendo, at 9 a.m. the day of the CES, Nintendo's chairman Howard Lincoln stepped into the stage and revealed that Nintendo was now partnered with Philips. And Nintendo was planning on abandoning all the previous work Nintendo and Sony had did on the SNES CD-ROM attachment. Unknown to Sony, Howard Lincoln secretly flown to Philips headquarters in Europe and formed an alliance of a different nature, one that would give Nintendo total control over all its licenses on the Philips CD machine. After the collapse of the joint project with Nintendo, Sony considered halting their research, but ultimately the company decided to use what they had developed so far and make it into a complete standalone console. As a result, Nintendo filed a lawsuit claiming breach of contract and attempted in U.S. federal court to obtain an injunction against the release of what was called the PlayStation on the grounds that Nintendo owned the name. The federal judge presiding over the case denied the injunction, and in October 1991, the first prototypes of the brand new game system was revealed. However, it is rumored that only 200 or so of these prototype machines were ever produced. By the end of 1992, a deal was reached between Nintendo and Sony. The deal stated that the Sony PlayStation would have a port to play Super NES cartridge games, but Nintendo would own the rights and receive the bulk of the profits from those games. Also, Nintendo would still be able to use the Sony design audio chip for the Super NES. In early 1993, Sony decided to abandon the concept of releasing the PlayStation to compete with the SNES. They decided to begin reworking the PlayStation concept to target the next generation of hardware and software. As part of this process, the SNES cartridge port was dropped from the machine, and the spaces between the names PlayStation was removed, becoming PlayStation, thereby ending Nintendo's involvement with the project. The PlayStation launched in Japan on December 3, 1994. It launched in North America on September 9, 1995, and in Europe on September 29, 1995. The system's launch price in North America was $299. Included with the original US PlayStation base unit were one controller, a stereo AV cable, a power cable, a game sampler disc, and instruction book. 13 games were available at the launch of the PlayStation. Air Combat, Battle Arena Toshinden, ESPN Extreme Games, Kalik the DNA Imperative, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Power Serve 3D Tennis, Rayman, Ridge Racer, Street Fighter the Movie, The Radiant Project, Total Eclipse Turbo, Zero Divide, The Radiant Project. The average price of PlayStation games were $39.99 at the lowest and $49.99 at the highest. Let's take a look at the hardware. This is the standard gray North American model. Starting from the left, it has a reset button, power button. From the right, the open button. Has 2 controller ports and 2 ports for memory cards. If you want to connect more controllers, you will have to buy additional peripheral, which I will be talking about later on in this video. This is the back of the PlayStation system. Starting from the right, there's the power cord port. This is the AV out port where you can hook up composite video cable, S video cable, or a component video cable. This is the serial port where you can hook up the PlayStation System Link cable. I will be talking about the System Link cable later on in the video, where I'll talk about the different peripherals for the PlayStation. And the last, this door, if you open it, contains a big serial port where you can hook up the original Game Genie. This port didn't really get used that much, so in later versions of the PlayStation hardware, this port got removed entirely. The PlayStation had many hardware revisions. These are the top 3 that you will find. Starting from the bottom, this is the original model that came out in Japan and some US markets. Starting from the right, you know, standard power cord port, AV out. This unit had a composite video output, the standard serial port with the System Link cable, and the big port where you can hook up the Game Genie. So on top of that, this model took away the composite cable ports, and at the top, this is the model that, you know, everybody is familiar with. This one just has a power cord, AV out, and serial port. As you can see, it took out the big port on the left. So the top model is the standard model everybody is familiar with. You've probably seen these around the internet. These are the debugged or development kit units. These units were sent to retail as demo units and to video game publishers or reviewers for debug units. This black version of the PlayStation is called the Net-Urus. This version was used to program games with. It was more expensive than the original PlayStation. It came with tools and instructions that allow users to be able to program PlayStation games and applications without the need for a full development kit, which will cost many times the amount of a PlayStation. These kits were only available to certain developers. You need to have the system hook up to the internet so you can download the tools and so they can keep track of the units. These units played games on CDR discs. And these systems were region free, so You can play games from different countries on this system. This is the original PlayStation controller that came with the system. Starting from the left, you have the D-pad. From the right, you have the 4 fire buttons, a start and select button, and on the top, the 4 shoulder buttons. Later on, Sony released the DualShock analog controller, which added vibration to the controller and 2 DualShock analog sticks, which you can click in. Okay, so let's go over some of the different peripherals that's available for the Sony PlayStation. There's dozens and dozens of peripherals available for the PlayStation, and I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm just going to go over a selected few. This is the Gun Con, made by Namco. This light gun is used for on-rail shooter games like the Time Crisis series. These are the original black models. They will later change into bright orange or blue colors because they don't want kids going out or stupid people going out and people think they're holding real guns. There's more different light guns available for the PlayStation, but the gun cons are the most popular ones. This is the Namco 6-button arcade fight stick. These are used for games like Tekken, Street Fighter, or Marvel vs. Capcom. Again, there's many different fight sticks that's available for the PlayStation. This is the PlayStation analog joystick, sometimes referred to as the flight stick. This peripheral is used for air combat games like Air Combat, Descent, and other flight combat games. This is the PlayStation System Link cable. This cable hooks up to the back of the PlayStation and allows you to play multiplayer games with other PlayStation systems. This is handy if you do not want to play split screen multiplayer. So you can have your own screen doing multiplayer games. This is the PlayStation mouse. This mouse is used for mostly point and click adventure games. The Sony PlayStation machine only has 2 controller ports, so if you want to play multiplayer with more than 2 people, you'll have to buy this peripheral, the multi-tap. This is the Game Shark CD. The original Game Shark was a hardware device that you hooked up to the back of the original PlayStation, but since Sony took out that port, they released this, the Game Shark CD. So you put the CD in a console, it saved the cheat codes and stuff to the memory card. You put the disc out and you put in the game that you want to play. This is the PlayStation 1 racing wheel, used for games like Gran Turismo or Need for Speed. Again, there's probably dozens of racing wheels out there for the PlayStation. And finally, the most important PlayStation peripheral, the memory cards. These memory cards are 1 megabyte and held up to 15 blocks. There are some memory cards like this that has 2 megabytes and holds 13 blocks of memory. So yeah, 2 megabytes. Yeah, that was a lot back in PlayStation 1 days. These are the official PlayStation memory cards. I mean, of course, they came in different colors. And these are the Mad Catz memory cards. I mean, they all work the same. Most people like to get, the official ones, but I usually just get the official ones and the Mad Catz, especially the Mad Catz, because you can get these cheaper. Haven't had any problems with the Mad Catz, fell on me and erasing my data. I use these for, RPGs because you can hold up to 13 blocks. Most PlayStation games, held up to 1 block, up to I think like 6. And there's some cheap, like really cheap, like made in China memory cards that's on Amazon. I advise you not to get those because there's a lot of reports that those will, fail on you and give you corrupted game data. On July 7, 2000, Sony released the PS1, a smaller, redesigned version of the original PlayStation console. So this is the PS1 or the PS Mini. So you see they combine the power and reset button. I don't like how they did this because sometimes this button will get stuck. Yeah, see, it'll get stuck. It's the open button. I'm saying 2 controller ports, 2 memory card ports in the back, power cord port, and the AV out. So no system link cable, so you can't play multiplayer with this, only split screen multiplayer. I do like this better than the original one because of course it's lighter, it's more smaller, and it just looks better. The only downside is, and sometimes, sometimes the tray won't close. And sometimes this gets stuck. And again, this thing is clean, so it's no gunk or none. That's just how the hardware is, just gets stuck. But other than that, this is the PlayStation 1, or you call it the PlayStation Mini. Sony also released a 5-inch LCD screen with the PS1. So this LCD screen, so if you don't have a television, you can use the screen, or you can use the system in your car and play your PlayStation 1 games on the go. So the screen was released separately or in a bundle where you got the screen and the PS1 system. Okay, that's enough about talking about the PlayStation's hardware. Now it's time to talk about the games for the PlayStation. Originally, the PlayStation games came in these long boxes, nicknamed long boxes. Well, that's what I call them. As you can see, it's got 2 discs. I don't know why Sony made boxes like this. I mean, look at all this extra space that you don't use. At least the instruction book is big, but these boxes are, I mean, they're too long. They're, especially this one, this is heavy, they're bulky. Sometimes the plastic will have cracks. These hinges, these hinges are flimsy. So sometimes if you get games that comes in these long boxes, the hinges will be loose or cracked, or some of them just be broken off entirely. So there's 2 models of these. It's the hard plastic and the more cheaply made cardboard. These cardboard, the hinges, they're plastic, so they don't break as much as the hard plastic ones. So this one's made out of cardboard. Yeah, some of them come with these spongy things to keep the disc from falling off. And this is the long book. So yeah, so the first PlayStation games was released in these ridiculous long boxes. So finally, they discontinued the long boxes, and the games now came in these regular CD jewel cases. So you can see it's much smaller, they're lighter, they're more easily to archive. Yeah, there's no game in there because I'm currently playing this game. But yeah, this is way more convenient. Well, of course the book is smaller, but who cares about that? So this is a 1-disc jewel case. There's also a 2-disc jewel case. One and right there. So there's the regular jewel case. Then there's, I call this the double jewel case because there's 2 of them. I don't know the official name of these cases, but these cases came with 1 disc on this side, and on this side the book. I don't know why they choose to have this case with, you know, just 1 CD. I mean, they could just put it in this case to, you know, save material. But yeah, sometimes you'll get cases like this but only have 1 disc. Then there's cases like this. Comes with 2 disc. I mean, again, it could have saved more material and just did like this, because this has 2 discs, but I guess they want to think that you're getting more value. Then there's this, the same, but this one has 3 discs. 1, 2, 3. And finally, same thing, but this has 4 discs. Now there's one game on the PlayStation 1 that has 5 discs, and that's Riven, the sequel to Myst. I don't have that game because I don't like the Myst franchises, but yeah, that game has 5 CDs. I mean, yeah, that's a lot. So these are all the different cases that you'll find on the PlayStation 1. So the game disc, regular CD game disc, except PlayStation, they have their own proprietary CD disc, so it's all black. They do get scratched up, so this one's look good, but yeah, the scratch up disc, I mean, they're function, but sometimes doing cutscenes, or especially if you have a full motion video FMV game, if your disc is scratched up, yeah, the video will skip. But for like regular games like this, they can be a little scratched up. It won't make any difference. Oh yeah, one more thing I forgot. Later on, PlayStation start doing these greatest hits titles. Now, well, I know about the greatest hits. They're supposed to be games that sold almost 1 million or over 1 million, and they get the greatest hits. I think they retailed for $19. I mean, that's where I bought this game brand new, the greatest hits, for 19. So I think there was 19. They could have been more, but yeah, so the games that sold a lot, they re-release them in the greatest hits at reduced prices. So some collectors, they don't like the green collector's edition. I mean, I don't really care about it. I mean, as long as I have the game, who cares what this looks like? But I mean, yeah, the black does look better than the green, but again, who cares? So yeah, the greatest hits disc. The last thing I want to show you is some video gameplay. There's hundreds and hundreds of PlayStation 1 games, so there's no way I can show you all of them in this video. So what I'm going to do is just show the top 10 highest rated PlayStation games according to Metacritic. So enjoy. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed PlayStation Revisited. If you want to see more PlayStation related videos, click on one of the links on the screen. Don't forget to leave me a comment, hit the like button, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.